Hello, my name is Tomaš Klimann and I'm working at the Center for Social Competence at the University of Graz in Austria. And I would like to introduce to you the dual concern model. Let's go! The dual concern model, according to Pruitt and Carnevale, postulates that the behavior of the parties in a context of a social conflict is determined by two motives. At one hand, a self-assertion motive, called self-concern or concern about own outcomes. And at the other hand, a support or a cooperation motive called other concern or concern about the other party's outcomes. Self-concern is the need to realize personal goals and interests. Other concern is the interest that the other side also achieves its goals and maximizes its gains. It is assumed that both motives exist independently of each other and can be pronounced to different degrees. A high interest in the gain of the other side can either be genuine and truthful and then be based on sympathy and a common group affiliation or a positive basic mood, etc. Or it is tactical and instrumental and is ultimately intended to serve one's own advantage because one wants to create a good basic for future cooperation or hopes to make a good impression on influential third parties. The strength of the interest in one's own gain depends, among other things, on the experienced importance and urgency of the underlying needs, on the importance and urgency of other needs that one also wants to see realized, on the extent of the party's need for social harmony, so fear of conflict, or on the social responsibility that the parties bear when they negotiate on behalf of third parties. The different combination of self-concern and other concern result in 5 typical behaviors in the course of a conflict. These are avoiding, accommodating, compromising, competing, and problem-solving. Let's have a closer look at these 5 different typical conflict behaviors. Accommodating. Accommodating is characterized by give into the demands of the opponent, to lower one's own level of demands, to make unilateral and unconditional concessions, to subordinate oneself, etc. What might a situation look like in which Mr. Alexander is accommodating? Hey, my dear.
Where should I reserve a table for dinner tonight? What do you think of the Italian place down the street?
I don't want to eat pizza again. We just got back from our holiday in Italy last week.
Yes, exactly for that reason. Because I want to keep that holiday feeling.
Not again.
But I want to eat real Italian spaghetti pomodoro so much.
All right. If you want it that much, yes, then we will go to the Italian restaurant today.
Love you. See you later.
See you then. Avoiding. Avoidance is when behavior is characterized by withdrawing, ignoring the problem, postponing a clarifying conversation, or hoping that the matter will sort itself out, etc. Let's have a look which situation Mr. Alexander tries to avoid. Hi, Ma.
You haven't been to see me for so long. When are
Ma.
you coming?
I'm in a meeting right now. Bye. Compromising. Compromising is characterized by gradually reducing one's own demands and urging the negotiation partner to do the same, reciprocating the concessions of the other side in the same way, and striving for a 50-50 agreement, etc. Let's have a look on Mr. Alexander, in which situation he is compromising. Mr. Alexander shares his office with Miss Lois. Is it okay for you if I open the window?
No, I get too cold when the window is open.
I can't concentrate in this bad air.
But when I'm cold, I can't type and I get sick.
A suggestion. What do you think about me only opening the window when you are not in the room? Yeah, like when you have meetings in other offices or when you are on your lunch break.
As long as the room is not too cold afterwards, the solution fits me very well.
All right. Competing. Competing is when the prevailing behavior is characterized by threatening punishment or withdrawal, committing to unchangeable possessions, misinforming or incompletely informing the other side, instigating intrigues and building coalitions, etc. Let's have a look on a situation in which Mr. Alexander is competitive. Mr. Alexander has been negotiating with Mr. Jones for 3 months about the sale of his company. The major part has already been agreed, so the what, the content, and it is now about the exact price. Let's have a look. We have already discussed the exact details. Today it is still about the price. My offer is 500,000 euro.
Excuse me, you know very well that with all the properties we have a value of about 800,000 euro.
Think about my offer. Every day you continue to run the business increases your debt, and so I'm willing to pay less.
We have put a lot of time and energy and commitment into the company over the last 20 years and can hand over to you a large customer base and employees with profound technical know-how.
I will get your customer base sooner or later anyway. That's not an argument for me. There are countless failed companies on our doorstep who want to sell. If you don't want to sell, then leave it. We are not dependent on you. I will find another company of equal value right away. My final offer is 600,000 euro.
You won't get the package I'm offering you again so quickly.
You know my last offer. Either you accept the purchase price or the deal is cancelled. Problem solving. Problem solving is the creative search for solutions that are likely to maximize returns for all sides. This behavior is characterized by separating the people from the problem, not insisting on possessions, but asking about the underlying interests and needs. In this search for solutions, creative options are sought and objective criteria are used to make decisions. Let's have a look on Mr. Alexander and a situation where we can observe problem solving.
Good morning.
Good morning. What is that orange doing here?
I took it.
Oh, dear, but I need it.
Shall I cut it in half? But the half orange is of little use to me.
Half an orange doesn't help me either.
What do you need it for?
I need the peel to bake a cake, and you?
I want to squeeze some juice for breakfast. I don't need the peel.
Ah, I don't need the pulp.
Then you take the peel after I've squeezed the juice.
Yes, then everyone gets 100% of the orange.
Hee, 1 orange becomes 2.
Significance of the dual concern model. It is true that the dual concern model can predict which negotiation strategy is preferred in principle for a given characteristics of the two dimensions. At the same time, however, actual conflict behavior often turns out to be a conglomerate of very different behaviors. The opponent rarely acts unambiguously and exclusively in the sense of a single strategy, for example, peer cooperative problem solving. This is where the hypothesis of perceived feasibility comes in. If the person anticipates that his or her preferred strategy will be unsuccessful, he or she will ad hoc resort to tactics of those alternative strategies that are most likely to realize the prevailing interest. The dual concern model helps to overcome assumptions like the one-sidedness of the individualistic perspective, according to which people are always egoistically concerned with the aim of maximizing their own advantages. At the same time, those concepts are rejected in which self-concern and the other concern are seen as poles of the continuum, competitive orientation versus cooperativeness. Summary. The degrees of self-concern and other concern determine the choice of conflict behavior. 5 prototypical behavioral strategies in the course of a conflict are avoidance, accommodating, compromising, competing, and problem solving. Avoiding. Here we have low concern for own interest and low concern for others' interest. Since both concerns are low, it doesn't seem important to talk about it. Therefore, communication tends to be avoided. Accommodation. Here, the concern for own interest is also low, but the concern for others' interest is high. In this area, an agreement is created because self-interest is not very important, but the interest of the others is. Compromising. Both sides reduce their own demands and aim for a 50-50 agreement. The advantage is that a partial agreement is reached. The disadvantage is that a partial loss is incurred. Competing. Here we have high concern for own interest and low concern for others' interest. One's own outcome is very important, while the outcome of the other side is of no importance. Therefore, the negotiator enters into a competition to achieve his or her own goals. Problem solving. Here we have high concern for own interest and high concern for others' interest. In cooperation, an attempt is made to take both outcomes into account as both sides appear important and cooperation ensues. Thus, both sides are satisfied. This area is extremely important because through cooperation, organizations, teams, etc. can work much more efficiently. No one is hurt, but the problems are still solved constructively. But, as already mentioned, the concrete conflict behavior often turns out to be a conglomerate of very different behaviors. Thanks for watching and let your skills grow.